Hey Crestwood, happy Wednesday to you. Hope you all are doing well today. Can't believe we're halfway through November and speeding our way to Thanksgiving. Hope you have good plans for that, good time with family and friends and food and football and all the things that Thanksgiving brings. I'm thankful for you and so honored to bring you this devotional for this Wednesday, November 16th. So today I'm thinking about exiles. I heard this very fascinating passage from Jeremiah, which I never really paid much attention to. But I think it speaks something to those of us who may feel like we're in exile or have been in exile. Certainly the last couple of years with the pandemic, we have felt exiled. To be exiled means to be taken forcibly away from what you're familiar with and kind of dropped somewhere else. And we certainly felt that way with the pandemic. We were exiled from living our lives, exiled from going to church, exiled from the normal things we were used to doing, and dropped into our homes and told to stay there and don't come out or you'll get sick. And so we know what that feeling of exile is like in a certain sense. We also feel that in our personal lives when our lives are disrupted in ways that are very traumatic, when we suffer an illness or when we lose a job or when a relationship ends. We can feel like we're in this time of spiritual exile. And oftentimes when we're in those times, what we think to ourselves is if we can just get back to normal, if we can just get back to the way things were, if we can just get to a place where we're not feeling this sense of exile. And so we put all our hopes in that, and that makes life even tougher for us because it just heightens for us and highlights for us this feeling of being exiled, this feeling of being away from what we know, what we want, what feels normal to us. So let me share this passage from Jeremiah. This passage is written from the prophet to the Israelites who have been exiled. They were in Jerusalem. Their country was captured by the Babylonians. They were sent in exile to Babylon and lived there for a long time. And they were kind of stuck in this foreign land, far away from home. Everything that was normal, everything that they knew was taken away from them, much like happens to us sometimes in life circumstances. Listen to these words. Thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, to all the exiles whom I have sent into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon. God says this, build houses and live in them. Plant gardens and eat what they produce. Take wives and have sons and daughters. Take wives for your sons. Give your daughters in marriage so that they may bear sons and daughters. Multiply there and do not decrease. But seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you into exile. And pray to the Lord on its behalf, for in its welfare you will find your welfare. So basically what God is saying to them is like, don't lament the fact that you're no longer in your homeland. He's saying, wherever you are, I want you to live the life I've called you to live. You know, the phrase, bloom where you're planted. Well, you may not be planted where you want to be planted, but God says, I am still with you even when you're in exile. So don't just dream and wish and hope about getting back to normal. Live where you are. Live your life where you are. If you're in the midst of exile, don't stop being who God called you to be. God says to the Israelites, hey, you're living in Babylon. That's far away from home. Build houses. Plant a farm, reap the produce, marry, have kids, keep living the life I've called you to live, because it's not about where you are, it's about who's with you as you do that. And that would be God for us. And so what I take away from that is there may be circumstances in my life that aren't ideal. Things may not be going the way I wanted them to go. I may feel spiritually exiled. I may feel like nothing is normal. Nothing is dependable anymore. And what God says is, wherever you are, even if you are feeling exiled, live your life there. Trust in God there. Continue to be faithful there. Do the things God has called you to do there. Because there are a lot of circumstances in our lives we don't control. And there are times where we may feel exiled, where we have no control over what's going on around us. And we can spend so much energy just wishing things would get back to normal that we can miss the opportunity to bloom where we are planted, to live the life God has called us to live, even in the midst of exile. Someone once said, if you're going through hell, what you need to do is keep going. And that's what I take this to mean. If you are in exile, don't just stop living and spend your time wishing things were different. Live your life where you are, trusting that God is with you as you do so, because you can continue to be fruitful. You can continue to build bridges. You can continue to do the things God has called you to do, even in the midst of those difficult circumstances. So I want to encourage you today, Crestwood, if you're feeling in exile, if you're feeling like you're not where you're supposed to be, or your life isn't what it's supposed to be, God is still with you in the midst of it. So continue to live the life God has called you to live, and there will be blessings to be found even in exile. God bless you, Crestwood.